This is Salesforce Simplified, the podcast from Ad Victoriam Solutions. Here's your host, Mike Boyle.
Well, hello, everyone. Glad you could make time for this podcast. I think you're really going to enjoy it. So, since last fall's Salesforce Dreamforce, the pedal to the metal topic, if you will, has been, you guessed it, Agenforce. That customer service tool that empowers agents with AI-driven insights and automation and a unified interface to streamline workflows, enhance productivity, and deliver exceptional customer experiences across all the channels. Well, that is the subject of this episode of Salesforce Simplified. And as our guest, I've invited our very own Ad Victoriam's AI guy, Drew Becker. Drew, welcome to the Salesforce Simplified podcast. We're thrilled to have you.
Hey, Mike, it's great to be here. Thanks a lot for having me on.
So you've been with the company for a little while now. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I went to UGA for school. I got my bachelor's degree in cognitive science, and then I actually went to pursue my master's in artificial intelligence. So I got my master's in AI, and I started working for Ad Vic right after that, pretty much. And since then, I've been working a lot with all of our different AI initiatives. We have some stuff going on internally and a lot of stuff going on project-wise that's coming in. So I've been kind of leading the charge on a lot of the AI initiatives that we have going on so far.
So when you were at UGA, is that kind of when the AI bug bit you, or was it before school, or is it just kind of always been something you were interested in?
Yeah, it's funny. When I was looking at going to school, I was either interested, I was an athlete in high school, and I was either interested in kinesiology or I wanted to do neuroscience of some sort. And so I ended up when I went to UGA, the program that I found that best aligned with my interests was cognitive science. And I quickly found that the cognitive science program there, it's an interdisciplinary study. So we learned a lot about the mind, but also a lot about computers. And it was essentially a feeder into the AI program. And this was, 2018 or so. And I figured by the time I get out of here, I bet AI will be pretty big. Didn't really even know, couldn't even scratch the surface of what it actually ended up coming to be back when I decided to choose to do it. But flash forward to today, and here we are. AI is kind of the hot topic on everybody's mind right now.
Everywhere you go. So I picked the right guy is what you're telling me for this topic then, right?
You could say that, yeah.
All righty. Agenforce is the topic. Let's start by asking you to give us a high-level overview of Salesforce Agentforce. I don't want to presume that everyone listening to the podcast knows about Salesforce Agentforce. So talk about it and talk about how it differs a little bit from other Salesforce AI solutions.
Yeah, that's a great question. So kind of from a high level, Agenforce is a cutting-edge AI technology that produces essentially a fully autonomous AI bot that can interact with customers, interact with your own people in your company. So think about sales representatives that maybe want to have an assistant to be able to extract some important information. Where this kind of differentiates itself from what you might think of in terms of a traditional chatbot is its ability to both reason. So since it's driven by AI, it can handle complex reasoning tasks, which is great. It can handle a large range of questions and inputs and determine what you're asking. So you don't have to say word your question in a particular way. It'll just understand what you're asking. And also it can perform actions for you. So that might be sending an email. That might be creating a case for your service team to handle. Very wide range of things. So with Agenforce, you're able to access this AI agent, which is part of this new AI kind of cutting edge of the new AI technology. And it's able to both interact with customers autonomously, but also perform actions on their behalf.
Drew, what would you say the best fit industry or business is for Agenforce?
That's a really good question. And I think this is a thing where it's really tough to box it in to say one particular industry because the use cases for it and the capabilities of it are really so broad, but there's use cases for it in all kinds of industries. I've seen manufacturing companies utilize Agenforce. I've seen entertainment companies utilize Agenforce. These AI agents are very adjustable, very flexible, and they can be used in a very broad range of industries.
We sort of touched on this lightly a moment ago, but I wanted to ask you to go a little bit deeper on this. What do you think sets Agentforce apart from other Salesforce tools, specifically in customer service?
There's a couple of key things that set Agenforce apart from some of the other Einstein tools. And I think of what comes to a lot of people's mind when we think of customer service and AI might be, the customer facing chatbot, or if you're familiar with Salesforce, the Einstein bot. And so usually when you have a chatbot like this, you can have some basic conversations with it on your website for, self support reasons, self service reasons. Maybe it can point you in the direction of a help article or something like that. But what people don't see on the end a lot of the times is that there's a lot of setup that goes into setting those things up. You have to account for every single possible type of question that could be asked, every single way that they might be asking for, routing to a human afterward. And there's a lot of things that could go wrong in order to prevent errors. The thing about Agenforce that makes it so useful and so dynamic is that you can actually set it up in a much easier fashion. Since it's using generative AI and these AI agents that we're talking about, what it does is it follows some natural language instructions. And so because of that, it lets you be very tailored to different types of responses, and you can set it up very easily. So you can say something along the lines of, if the customer asks for the location of their last order, you should thank them for their time and go retrieve their order. Or you can say, you should follow up every single one of your questions with a, has this helped you? Or what can I do next for you? Or something like that. And it'll be able to take in all of those requests and be able to really dynamically interact with the end users. And it saves a lot of setup time and setup effort on the front end, getting that stood up on say, an experience site or a website or any of these other channels.
Well, Drew, as you know, being a proud Salesforce partner, we're working with customers, every day with this new Agenforce. So at this point, I realize it's, kind of early on, but what standout features of Agenforce are our customers particularly finding helpful?
There's one particular thing that comes to mind that people have been finding very impressive that we use it for. We also have a lot of customers that are using it for this. And that's being able to pull out answers from a very large base of knowledge. So if you have, hundreds of help documents on your support website, Agenforce is able to search that more intelligently than you would be able to search it, say, from a search bar. And it's able to pull out the specific chunk, the specific paragraph or three sentences of the right knowledge article that'll answer your question and be able to summarize those answers to end users. People are also impressed by this because what it can do is if there's an answer to a more complicated question, say it's stored across multiple different help docs, then it can grab multiple different help docs and kind of pull them together to summarize an answer for you. So there's really a lot of capabilities. It really opens up your data and it really activates the ability to use those help documents in the best way.
And for those listening, I will be getting to some questions about integration and customization and obviously best practices and some advice as well. But Drew, I just wanted to change the focus now to some real world impact questions for you. In particular, how does Agenforce improve efficiency and customer satisfaction for service teams?
There's a couple of different things that are going on here with the Agenforce. And since you can set it up with a lot of different capabilities, really the sky's the limit when it comes to customer satisfaction and also, the ability for it to increase the efficiency of your service teams. So a lot of our customers are using this for case deflection. So self-service on their website, customer will log in and they want to find an answer to their question. There's a lot of knowledge to search through, a lot of help documents to search through. So a lot of times they'll open up the chat window and try to get in touch with the person. And so, like I mentioned earlier, the Agenforce bot is able to summarize a lot of these answers and answer them for the end users. That way the messaging never even has to get transferred over to an actual service representative. They're more free to handle actual complex requests and things that really need human intervention as opposed to, say, just answering a question from searching a knowledge article that they can pull up and answer the question from. Also, from the customer standpoint, if you can get your answer immediately instead of having to wait, say, 5 minutes to route down to to get in touch with an actual human agent, if you're able to go on to the website and find your answers that you're going to spend, the next couple of 10 minutes or so searching through the website trying to find the right document, you can get a lot of those answers a lot faster with the Agenforce agent just by asking it the question that you're in there to search.
You mentioned case deflection a moment ago, and I want to get into that a little bit deeper. But before I do, can you share an example or a story of how one of our customers is benefiting from using Agentforce?
Yeah, and this is a really cool situation too. We have a customer that has a couple of different sales teams, and they also have a lot of different tables. They're on different PDF documents. They have these tables of pricing data and some other information from each of their different distributors. And their salespeople are usually in charge of grabbing a couple of different documents, cross-referencing different numbers across them, and then coming up with a final pricing number for the customer. But what we're able to do is send all of those documents and have Agentforce be able to search those. And Agentforce can do all of that table cross-referencing for them. And so when they can ask their question, they give in a couple of details and essentially ask, how much should I be pricing this much of this product at? And it can go and cross-reference those tables for them and then pull up a final answer for them and save them all of the work of having to find all the different documents. Maybe they're even paper documents stored in folders somewhere and having to spend all that work cross-referencing them, turning back to their calculator, going back to the pages. Whereas now they can just go into the Agenforce agent, ask the question about the pricing. It can go pull all of the relevant data and then perform all the calculations for you and then give you the final number.
So instead of going to lunch at noon now, they're going at 8:30 a.m., right? That's kind of
right,
what you're
exactly.
saying. Let's talk a little bit about use cases for Agentforce. In particular, you used the term a moment ago, case deflection. If you could just tell those who are listening who aren't familiar with the term what case deflection is, and could you provide some resolution scenarios that are related to support desk personnel when cases enter the queue, and then, once the person, gets that to the human agent, how the issue is resolved?
So when we talk about case deflection, really what we're talking about is, say you're a customer and you made an order from Amazon and you wanted to go in and cancel your order. And, let's say that the only way to cancel your order was to go in and submit a formal cancel request. So a lot of the times you'd have to go in there, submit your reason for canceling your order, get in touch with an agent, maybe answer a couple of different questions from the service representative about why you want to cancel your order and if you want a refund and, whatever else goes into canceling an order. And so when you do that, you have a human agent that's taking up some of their time on your order request. Well, they also have other cases that are stacking up on their backlog while they're sitting there working, because you're not the only one who's, trying to cancel your order or making a return or requesting a refund. And so with Agenforce, what you can do with Agenforce is, as I mentioned earlier, not only can it interact with customers, but it can also take actions for them. So you can go in and request the Agenforce agent, hey, I need to cancel my order, give it your order number. And the Agenforce agent can go through and handle the order cancellation action for you. And so in this way, the agents that are the human agents that are working on support can continue to work on the other cases that are coming up on their backlog, more complex cases that come in that require, more support and maybe potentially more problem solving steps to solve. And then some of these more simple issues can come in and be solved directly by the Agenforce agent without having to take up the precious time of the service representatives who are already busy enough.
Yeah. I want to ask you a couple of questions regarding integration and customization specific to integration. How does Agenforce integrate with other Salesforce tools, and why is this integration important for maximizing its value?
Yeah, so there's a lot of great integration with the Salesforce tools. One of the primary ones that we'll see is the integration with Omnichannel. The Omnichannel integration allows the Agenforce agent to operate in the Omnichannel as a human agent would. So you can set a present status for them to be active, and then they can go ahead and engage in messaging with the end users. And so this is useful because not only can it be put on, say, an Experience Cloud site, but it can also be put on a website from another distributor or from another domain. It can also be attached to the Apple messaging or any of the other advanced messaging channels that Salesforce has. There's also a couple of cool integrations with some of the other Einstein features in Salesforce, since Agenforce can do a lot surrounding cases and work order requests and things of that nature. So let's say you have Agenforce creating a case for you for your customers who come in and they have advanced support problems. So Agentforce can actually fill in some of those, required fields on the case that needs to be made. So usually that would be something like the subject and the description. Maybe there's some sort of type or something like that. And you can actually have the Agentforce agent fill all of that in based on the conversation they had with the user and then be able to send those down. Those can all be compiled. You can create knowledge articles with them from the Einstein knowledge creation. You can use knowledge creation to create articles based on these conversations that people are having with Agentforce if it resolves their cases. And all of these things can be integrated with Agentforce, and it really makes it a nice end-to-end AI powered service in Salesforce.
Drew, let's talk about customization. Are there any options with customization within Agenforce that you have found especially useful for tailoring it to our clients' unique needs?
Yeah, so one of the primary and most useful customization aspects of Agenforce is that it runs based on a series of natural language instructions. So essentially, you would speak to it the same way that I'm speaking to you right now. And you just give it instructions like that on how to handle conversations, a little bit about your company, maybe to give it some context about who you are and the kinds of problems it might be solving. And what that allows us to do is it allows us to handle some pretty specific requests from our customers about how the agent should handle conversations. Should it be asking for feedback on its answers? Should it be offering to connect you to a live agent whenever you say something that goes against what it says? And so there's a lot of different capabilities right there, and it makes it simple with just an instruction here or there. So you can give it a natural language instruction to say, ask for feedback every time you give a response, and it will be able to do that. And that makes it a lot easier from our side to make it more customized to exactly what the customer needs. Another aspect that I find really fun of customization in Agenforce is that you can put your custom icon on it and also name the Agenforce agent whatever you want. And that just makes it more engaging for the end user. And we find that a lot of customers find that to be more fun as well, being able to name their agent, give it a logo image on the chatbot, and have it interact with people as if it's like a character, so to speak.
Yeah, bet they find that pretty cool. Just two more questions. I wanted to talk about best practices and what you would recommend to ensure a smooth implementation of Agenforce for businesses looking to adopt it.
Yeah, and that's a great question. A couple of best practices for Agenforce that I could think off the top of my head. Number one is if you're going to be using your Salesforce objects, so your cases, opportunities, accounts, contacts, make sure to label your fields, make sure to give them each a description. When Agenforce interacts with your Salesforce data, it's reading out all of the descriptions of each of your fields on your object to determine what that is. So if you have something that says name, that's the name of the field, but maybe it's a PO number, right? And your description, you should say, this is a PO number. And when you do that, it helps the Agenforce agent discern what each field is supposed to be meaning when it goes and looks at your data. One other thing is, I mentioned earlier, a lot of people are really enjoying the ability of the Agenforce agent to parse important information out of a large body of, say, help documents or policy documents. And so one thing is to make sure that you have all of that together. You could either be in knowledge articles or some sort of centralized folder or repository of PDF documents. But either way, getting those all together in a way that it can be ingested into Agenforce is extremely important to be able to have all the data there for it to be able to parse out.
And lastly, Drew, what advice would you give to an organization, a business, evaluating whether Agenforce is the right fit for their needs or considering an upgrade to their current customer service solution?
I think my best advice would be to stay open-minded. With Agenforce and with AI agents, this is such a cutting-edge technology that there's new use cases, new capabilities for it being constantly discovered, every day that you use it. So what I found is that really the best way to learn about what you want out of your AI agent is to learn what your AI agent can do. And being able to kind of go in there and ask it questions and see what types of questions people are asking it really starts planting the seed of some ideas of, hey, what can we do next with this agent, right? Right now, it can answer questions from our help documents, but maybe tomorrow it can create cases for us. Maybe the next day it can, respond to emails. Maybe the next day it can, do some other capability that you come up with. And so with these AI agents, there's a lot of explorability, and the capabilities of it are really a feedback loop between the humans that are using it and the capabilities of the AI. There's so much to be discovered once you put one of these up. And so really getting started with it is the biggest step. And then from there, usually there's a lot of different capabilities that get unearthed as you start to explore and discover with the AI as moving forward.
Drew Becker is Ad Victoriam's AI guy. What a cool title. I like that a lot. Thanks for stopping by today, giving us kind of an overview of Salesforce Agentforce. I want to have you back, and I think I want to, get into a little bit deeper with use cases. So we'll do that in the near future. Sound good to you?
Yeah, that sounds great. And Mike, thank you. I really appreciate you having me on today. This was awesome, and I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And to the audience, if this happens to be your first time listening to the podcast, we, Drew and I, would appreciate you giving us a 5-star review if you're listening to us on Apple or Spotify. It just helps us push the word out there about the Ad Victoriam Salesforce Simplified podcast. And don't forget to hit the button to subscribe as well. I'm Mike Boyle from Ad Victoriam Solutions, thanking you for listening to our Salesforce Simplified podcast. As always, our next episode is just around the corner.
You've been listening to Salesforce Simplified, the podcast from Ad Victoriam Solutions.